Yes, people, I hope you're well. So what I'm going to be running through today is the creative mistakes that I see the majority of brands, across the board make that are probably killing their results. I look at probably 10 to 15 different accounts every single week. Not only that, obviously experimenting with my own brands. We're pushing probably around 500 creatives every single month. So I like to think I know a thing or two about what's working and what isn't. So if you don't know me, my name's Joe Hume. I'm the founder of multiple brands, but the brand you probably will know is the 100 Glove. We're a goalkeeper glove brand in the football space. So as I said, we do tons of ads every single week, and I like to think I know a thing or two about what we're doing. But nonetheless, I'll go straight into the document. Number one is always going to be overcomplicated designs. So the way I'll walk you through what this looks like. The way I've set it up is I've got the problems on the right, and on the left I've got an example that really kind of bridges that gap. Okay, so why overcomplicated designs are a problem? Number one, they overwhelm the viewers, because if there's too much text, too much things going on, people are just going to get frustrated and think, like, what do I need to look at this for? What? How does it benefit me? What's the impact? And what can I take from this? And if it's too much, there's too much text and too much stuff happening, and they're not going to have a clue. You want to simplify your layout, so you're going to use clean, uncluttered designs. That's always important. You're going to focus on one key message. So whether that's going to be like your bundle, your core offer, whether you're pushing social proof, whether you're pushing the kind of key impacts of the product, you need one benefit and one only, okay? And you're going to use white space. So give your design elements room to breathe. Don't crowd too much things into one place. Structure it nicely. Now, for our example, which I've got on the left, it's like steps of how the customer will feel from using our products. So it's like the 100 glove cycle. Step 1, step 2, step 3. The product, so they of course know what that is, and of course some social proof down the bottom. Nice and simple, not too much going on, and it gives the end user what they want to see. Okay. Number 2 is a weak headline. Now think of this: your headline will probably be the first thing that people will see, right? So you want to directly call out a benefit or give them the offer you're trying to push towards them. Now, for goalkeepers in our space, a frequent problem they have is their gloves losing grip over games. And we figured that out, and, I can go into a whole nother video about how we kind of research and find out what's happening and where. But we know our customers, the biggest pain point they have is their gloves losing grip. They deteriorate quickly. So we think, how do we call that out? So if you're using a weak headline, it's going to fail to capture attention, as I just mentioned. But how you want to combat that is use a strong action-orientated language, buy now, or call out the problem. Clearly communicate the main benefit, and you want to test variations of that. Okay, you can't just rely on one singular headline to do all the heavy lifting. It's not going to work. What you may think works might not work, but you don't want to let that go to waste. Don't want to let the concept go to waste, right? So for us, like, one thing we could have tested here is losing grip during games, as you can see on the left, or sick of gloves deteriorating, sick of gloves not lasting the full 90. Do you see where I'm going with this? So it's about trying to kind of align the kind of changes you want to push across, and making sure they fit the image and fit the title of what you want to call out. So headlines are, of course, very, very important. Number 3 is probably, you would think it's probably the thing that you would have on lock from the get-go, because poor quality images, you're trying to sell your product to people. They need to know exactly what it is, right? So if you have blurred images, blurred lifestyle shots, blurred studio shots, like, that's probably to them, like, if this is how it's going to start, this is how it's going to continue. So you don't want low quality images. You want to have, as I said, either lifestyle, which actually for us perform incredibly well, as you can see on the left, or you want studio images. Or you can also mix and match and just put a nice clean edit on it. So low quality images, they look unprofessional, of course. Start as you mean to go on, as they say. So, you want to kind of diffuse that from the get-go. Use high quality images, ensure clarity and sharpness, stay relevant. Choose images that relate to your message. Like, for example, if you're selling clothing to women, You're not going to put your mail range with a headline that's directed to women, are you? So choose images that are relevant to your message, and you want to also test different visuals. You want to see which images resonate most, and that's important because, as I kind of mentioned on the previous slide, what you think may work may not work. But if you tweak it, so like if you're testing lifestyle versus studio shots, lifestyle might outperform studio tenfold. But if all your images are focused on studio, you're fucked. Do you know what I mean? So test different things, test different elements, and images. If there's one thing to focus on, it's always going to be the image, because of course that's what people see. Number 4 is a vague call to action. When I'm pushing an offer out, I always like to put a bit of scarcity on it, because it gets people to act. It implores them to act. So if you're not using it, it's a problem, because a vague call to action can reduce conversions, right? To combat that, you want to be specific. Use clear, concise language. As you can see on my left, limited time only. 2 pairs for £90. That's our offer, and we've got the scarcity on that. You know, urgency, as I just said, it gets people to act, and you don't want people dwindling and just going through with no urgency to get anything done, because chances are they're not just going to scroll right past it and going to pay little to no interest. But they might see a competitor who have, the scarcity included on their ads, that you want them to think, fuck, like, this offer's good. If I miss it, I'm fucked. Do you see where I'm going with that? So it's important. Scarcity is one of the biggest things you can implement. It's one of the biggest levers you can pull. So make sure you're doing it correctly. Don't overuse it. You don't want people to think you're a discount brand. Okay, so don't overuse it. But use it correctly and use it effectively. That's important, because of course it's going to make you stand out. Okay. Number 5 is a lack of consistency. It kind of relates to point 1. You don't want all of your assets all over the place, right? Because you want people to kind of get a feel for who you are, what you're about, and how you can improve their situation. So lack of consistency, why it's a problem, is it because it weakens brand identity. If your fonts are all over the place, if your colours are all over the place, if your images and kind of the UVPs are all over the place, not kind of aligning and making sense, it's not going to work. So use consistent colours, fonts, logos. So as I said, people can know and understand who you are. Develop a style guide. Ensure all materials adhere to your branding standards. Now, of course, don't go too overboard with this, because at the end of the day, you're selling to your customer. You're not selling to yourself. So what you think might look good may be a load of shit, and your customers don't like it. So don't go too overboard. Don't try and be, your Nike, your AG1, or your Apple, or any brands that have built their reputation around branding guidelines. You're not them. You're not big. Until you're a million or a multi-million pound brand, don't worry too much about it, but just make sure to the eye it looks good, it looks consistent, right? And it aligns with your brand messaging, of course. So nice and simple. Number 6 is overlooking your target audience. The easiest way you can do this is call out your audience within a title once more, and kind of dig in on the pain points that you know are affecting your audience. Like for me, as a goalkeeper glove brand, we're not going to target like a striker or a centre midfield player, are we? The messaging aligns with our pain points. So ads without clear target audience engagement is a problem. Yeah, so you want to kind of bridge that gap as best as you can. And you can do that. You need to identify your audience. You need to tailor your message and use your audience insights. I said before, for us, Reddit is always the first thing we look at when trying to piece the puzzle together and kind of give our audience what they want to hear. So use data. Data is going to be your best friend. Leverage it as best as you can to understand your user preferences. Really effective. The highest impact thing you can do outside of Photoshop. We spend probably 90% of our time researching our customer and understanding who they are and what they do. I could tell you every single thing about my customer, because we know them inside out, and it's how we translate that within Photoshop. So 90% researching, 10% designing. Nice and simple. 7, ignoring testing and optimization. Now, honestly, it is the biggest thing brands overlook because they think it's one and done, and it isn't. The way we structure our meta ads is we have a concept, we have 2 variations of the concept. So we're always testing different things. We're testing different colors, which you'd think, what the fuck's the point? But it makes a big difference. Different headlines, different products, different UVPs, different targeting, different everything, right? And you need to be able to test those effectively. So skipping tests lead to missed improvements, which of course is true. It kind of does what it says in the tin. You want to test different versions of your ad. You want to track key metrics regularly, and you want to find ads based on your insights. Now, you want to make sure your tests are structured correctly, because at the end of the day, you want to test one thing at a time. As I said, we only test if we're testing different elements. It's either going to be different colors, different headlines, different products. It's never one or the other. Do you see what I'm saying? So isolate what you want to test it effectively, and based on what the data is telling you, because at the end of the day, Meta should be doing all of your determine what the numbers look like, but just let it do the heavy lifting, and you can isolate what's working and what isn't and cut it out. If you find something is working, fantastic. Roll with that concept and keep on rolling with it. If it isn't, cut it and try something else. So it's a high leverage thing. Data doesn't lie. Utilize it as best as you can, and you can really kind of crack on from there. Number 8 is relying on text heavy ads. It's never going to work. People's attention span, since the kind of rise of TikTok, people's attention span is cooked, right? The majority of people probably can't even watch a movie without picking up their phone or anything like that. So do not, under any circumstance, use text heavy ads, because at the end of the day, people are not going to read it. They're not going to care. Your ads need to be sharp. They need to be snappy. They need to be short. They need to kind of give people what they want to see from the first glance, and they understand what you're doing. Now, for this one, I know my head's covering it a little bit, but it says the cheat code to better performance, right? It kind of triggers curiosity. What is that cheat code? It's a bit like the clickbaity kind of approach. Then we've got offer right at the top. You glance at that, you skim through it, it'll take you not even a second to kind of understand what we're doing and what we're about. So keep it concise, use short, impactful text, use visuals, rely more on images and graphics, of course. You can mix and match between studio and lifestyle shots and highlight your key points. Now, that could be your offer, as we've done at the top left. That could be your UVPs. That could be anything. But just do not have like a really ultra long title with some subtext underneath and some UVPs that have the point and also some subtext with that. Title, offer, UVPs, which is very short and snappy, which is probably 3 to 4 words max. That's all it needs to be. So number 9 as well, social proof. I rave on about this all the fucking time because it is something that's always within our ads from start to finish. Why it's a problem? Because at the end of the day, you want your customers to do the selling for you. Everyone claims their product is the next best thing. In some cases, it might be. But how do you get that across to your customers? And it's social proof. So feature quotes from satisfied customers. You could use Luke's, which is what we use. We also use Trustpilot. Obviously, be a bit careful because if you're not on Trustpilot's paid plan, they will come after you and make your life fucking misery. But it works. It does what it needs to do. Highlight positive reviews and ratings, and use endorsements to build trust. Let your customers do the heavy lifting for you. Now, this concept's really simple. It's an image of our goalkeeper, okay, in his gloves, of course. I use them every game. They provide the best grip and durability, the perfect glove for a keeper. That's a genuine review left by one of our customers. And all we've done is copy and pasted that, made it look a bit fancy and frivolous in Photoshop, and off it goes. Now, for us, it depends on where you're at in different stages of the funnel. This, for us, is more towards the retargeting side of things for people who know what we're about. Okay, but it's one of our best performers because it's so fucking simple and you can't miss it. Like the perfect glove for a keeper. That's all it needs to be. You don't need to make it up, you know. Just take what's in front of you, take what's publicly available online and repurpose it. Very nice and simple. So, they're the 9 points I've kind of run through today. I hope you found some value from that, because it's, you know, these mistakes I'm seeing people make, it's a fucking travesty. And, you know, this is from someone who's generated over 500 concepts every single month. Not variations, concepts. So by the time we're doing 3 variations of each, that's 1,500 ads every single month. And that's fine, because we can work with that scale. But based on our level of spend and what we're doing, this is what I see. So hopefully you found some value. If you've got any questions, let me know.